What's going on?
I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head, I'm seeing. Take me for granted and you know I'm leaving. I'ma take what's mine with the webs I'm weaving. I could take this crowd from seeing to believing. Got a taste for blood and my tongue keeps bleeding. From the words I spit, so sharp, so freezing. So cold, behold, frostbite they feeling. I could tear you apart or I could go heal them. Don't believe in fate, don't believe in ceilings. I just need a taste and my mind starts feeling. I don't pace myself, I grind on kneeling. Got lust for change, I just love the feeling. I ain't gonna give up. Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward through the tough times. Cause anything worth doing is a tough climb. And I ain't gonna give up. Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward through the tough times. Cause anything worth doing is a tough climb. Cause I'ma live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I go by at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time, and I'll still be winning. I live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I go by at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time, and I'll still be winning. I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dead Air Live on the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. It is our Sunday night show for the next 2 hours. Fantastic topics and guests in and around the paranormal. My name is George Lopez. With me, as always, Mr. Ken DaCosta in the great state of Rhode Island. And thank you guys for joining us tonight. We are simulcast. You ready for the banners?
I am ready for the banners. Here we go.
With KGR. db.com/dead-air, twitter.com/global radio live, youtube.com/@deadairnation, facebook.com/dead air full spectrum, twitter.com/dead_spectrum, and also Patreon, which we got a little bit to talk about before we get going with our very, very special guest tonight. Vera and Kendall Whelpton are going to be joining us. But that's all of them across the board, all the different platforms you guys can check us out. The reason I'm being a little bit more specific and trying to articulate those sites are for those who are watching on KGR or listening on KGRADB.com. If you're in the car or it's on your phone, you can't see us, then it's better to be able to play those back later so you guys can find all the locations to get in touch with us. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, also the thumbs up for our content, and Ken, hit it. The reminder bell for all the wonderful shows and programs that we have upcoming for you guys also. But Ken, things have been interesting lately, and we've been very, very busy putting things together on Patreon. Another reaction was just put out there. We've got another town hall tomorrow night, and I just posted the first installment of Crossing Wires on our Patreon channel for our wonderful, wonderful audience. So make sure you guys do check that out. How have you been, sir?
Been good. Been a great week. Get outside, breathe some fresh air, do some yard work. Very zen, you know. I had some announcements to make. First of all, while we're talking about Patreon, I had promised a video that no one has seen before for our Patreon members. You are going to see that video tomorrow night at our weekly town hall. That takes place at 8 p.m. Eastern every Monday. So we're going to play a video for you. I think you'll find very interesting, sort of like one of those evidence type videos. Beyond that, It's been eerily quiet. It's been great. So still working on our UFO show that we talked about last week, where we're going to have some disclosure, but it's not going to be the type of disclosure you're going to think. And we are going after mainstream media on this one. So, stay tuned to that. We're putting it together, and I think we may have an excellent guest lined up for that. But with all that said, I'm pretty excited about tonight because these are two of my favorite people to have on, and it's been a while since they've joined us, but they got a new project, and we can't wait to get into that with them. Got a 1,000 questions lined up for them. So, yeah, it was good for Kendall and Vera to be able to join us tonight, and I'm looking forward to those. Regular TV, oh yeah, we're better than regular TV.
Yeah.
These faces made for radio.
Hey, talking about the UFO thing, I wanted to show you this. I captured it yesterday in my backyard. 16 years living here in Palm Coast. I'd never, ever seen one of these, and I was astounded by it. And then it made me think of how many people will capture something like this, and it'll wind up on some video somewhere as a UFO. A kite. Now I am incredibly zoomed in on this. That's why the palm tree you're looking at right there looks like a great oak. I'm really zoomed in. It must have been at least 700-800 feet up. It was just way, way up there. You can't see the string or anything. But from the naked eye, from a distance away, you're wondering, what? God, that's why it's so hard to even stay focused on it, because, when you zoom in, any little movement and you lose focus.
Yeah, but that gives it realism when it's blurry, though.
That's it.
Do you want to hear my chemtrail conspiracy now or later? Because it looks like it's ejecting chemtrails.
That's what I'm thinking. It's crashing.
Like mind control.
It's crashing UFO. Please, if you would like to expound on this chemtrail theory, go right ahead.
Looks like a kite to me. That's my expert professional opinion. As an investigator, it certainly seems like a kite to me, but I reserve judgment on that, because if they are chemtrails, it could be making you think that it's a kite.
You're just buying into the disinformation again, Ken. That's the only problem right there. That's it. Or you're selling the disinformation, one or the other. How do we know? We know?
Trust no one.
How do we know it's not just...
We know.
It's a UFO posing as a kite so that it could check things out.
That's what I'm going with.
Yeah, I would like that. Anyway, enough of that silliness. We got to get on the topic tonight, and we have some wonderful guests going to be joining us. One of the two to start off with, Ken, but if you'd like to do the honors. And no, I won't go full screen for you. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, Kendall and Vera Whelpton are a husband and wife filmmaking team, and their work. The Sleepless Unrest, the story about our friends Rochelle Stratton and Brian Murray's evenings at the Conjuring House, The House in Between featuring Steve Gonsalves from Ghost Hunters, The House in Between 2, and now their latest project, The Haunting Lodge. And before we bring them on, let's give you a little bit of a taste of what it is that we're going to be talking about and what they've got in store for you. So go ahead, George, hit that thing.
Get your popcorn ready, guys.
It's off. Okay, I'm freaking out. How is this working if it's off?
The door's open.
You got it?
Yep.
We are here to communicate with you.
I had two different groups of deer hunters. They asked me, did you come down here last night walking around? And I said, why? And they said, well, somebody was walking around last night.
Something tried to open your door.
Oh, it opened. He didn't try to open. It opened and closed back.
To me, the door sounded about like that. Here I am in the next bedroom thinking, oh goodness, somebody's coming straight after me.
times you're able to show yourself in mirrors.
Pressure and temperature sensor going up.
You heard the noises. He went into the bathroom.
Something happened in that house last night.
What they are, I don't know.
They're not human.
I heard that.
It's here.
Okay, ghosts don't have that heavy of boots. Somebody's here.
They have the house surrounded.
Oh, we got movement. What? Oh, I saw They're responding. Oh, did you see that?
Outstanding, right?
We are going to have a good time. I swear to God, it's all about the trailer. I don't care what major motion picture. I've always enjoyed the trailer, and then I'll watch the picture. But this one here, I'm going to watch this one.
For
just
sure.
like Jason already did.
Jason's just finishing it up right now. The boy, Jay.
That's it.
But without further ado, let's talk to the filmmaker himself and get the rundown on this. And I'm sure that you all have some questions for him, and we have some questions for him. So without further ado, we'll bring him in right now. Kendall Whelpton, come on.
Hey, buddy. Are you trying to terrify all of us in the paranormal? Oh, you're on mute right now. Click your mute button. There we go.
Figure this out here. Hey,
Yeah.
guys, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I apologize. Vera's holding down the fort with the kids, so she'll join us in a little while.
No worries. We got plenty of time to chit chat.
Yeah, we'll just sit around.
So
Jason, thanks for checking out the movie. I saw he's just finishing it up. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, he's one of our Patreon members. We'll probably talk about it tomorrow night in the town hall.
Awesome.
We'll get you guys one of these Monday nights. You just come in and chit chat with everybody. It's everybody on screen together.
Oh, no way. That sounds fun.
It is a lot of fun. It really is. But you guys been busy, huh? I mean, that's why we haven't talked to you for so long.
Yeah, we've been hermits over at the Whelpton residence, just working away. Yeah. We just launched the Haunting Lodge, in October, and working on some new projects and all kinds of fun things.
How long was this in the making, Kendall?
This one was actually our longest film. It started in 2020, at the end of 2021. And we actually did this film before The Conjuring House. So Vera and I, we were looking for places, and this place popped on our radar, and we went out to do a location kind of scout. And that's when Vera had her experience, and that case turned into way bigger than we had ever expected. So yeah, we kind of actually put it on the back burner a little bit because The Conjuring House came up so fast after that. And then so it's been a work in progress, and just we're really excited how it came out and how the edit came through all the way. And just the evidence alone, like I think we spent the most time. Vera spent painstakingly hours, you guys know, watching every ounce, every clip, every second. So we were able to really watch the footage and watch every angle. I think we had 13 DVR cameras going all the time there. Yeah. So times, I think we were there for 2 weeks investigating, so maybe a little over. Yeah, it was
so
wild.
I guess now's a good time to ask. So there was a little bit of bouncing back and forth between these things, right? You're in Harrisville, Rhode Island. You're in Georgia.
Harrisville, we did pretty much, we put that kind of first, but we ended up going out there to Georgia, to the Haunting Lodge first, and we did that for about a week, a little over a week, and then we put that on the back burner a little bit, and then we came back a couple months later after we were done filming the Conjuring House, and we went there, and that's when we brought in, we brought in some people for that, and we kind of got a little better idea of the history, and we were able to kind of do our research a little better once we had an idea of what was going on there. We were able to kind of go back with better investigation mindset.
When you get to the point in time of actual filmmaking, and I don't know if you run in circles with other filmmakers out there, would you categorize this field to be more work? As you just talked about, that many IR cameras, there's a lot of review. You're not just, okay, is the timeline right? Did we do all the thumbnails the way that we want to have this all spread out? The storyboard is correct, but you've got to present this all throughout the entire presentation out there. Is it more work than, say, some of your friends out there that are just regular filmmakers, whether it's documentary or fiction?
No, that's a great question. Like I do a lot of different stuff along with the paranormal. I do fishing. I do a fishing show called Wicked Tuna, and I do, I've done a lot of different stuff. And the deep dive documentary paranormal is so tedious, so detailed, so much more involved, I would say, than anything that we've ever done. Number one, we definitely want to put our best foot forward with what we're presenting to the audience, going through the evidence, making sure it's very good, very, credible evidence. And sometimes, that's hard because you have really great moments and then you didn't capture what you're talking about. So like you have to scrap a lot of stuff, We don't ever want to put anything forward that we can't like show visually or show audio. So, sometimes you'll have this really great scene, but we didn't get it. You guys know, it's like, it's elusive. So, and we found that more cameras we put on it, the better coverage we have, the easier it is. Well, not easier, but the better chances it is to capture the phenomena. But that, piles on, days and sometimes months of work. Yeah, this one was, a solid year of just going through the DVR footage and all the audio and just everything. So we actually have more footage, which we're working on something with that right now as well. So
I smell director's cut. I'm pretty sure. I know how you came to be at the Conjuring House, and everything that was set up because I know the Conjuring House.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, how does this come to you? Well, how did you come to it? This lot in an isolated area. Where did this pop up on the radar?
It's kind of a story in itself. It's very interesting. Yeah. So this fellow investigator, John Doherty, he's out kind of in the field, like searching for locations and such. And Vera and I get hit up quite often by, people that are in the field and, they have a great location and they share it with us and they're like, hey, you guys might want to check this out. And John was out in Georgia and he just decided to take a little drive from his house. A few hours later, he ends up in Fort Gaines area and he sees a really neat abandoned house and he's like, hey, I think I'm going to go in there and bring my, EMF detector and my photo camera, and take some photos in this abandoned place. So, he goes in, he's hanging out in this abandoned house by himself. And sure enough, this guy rolls up in his pickup truck and is like, hey, he yells into the house, hey, what are you doing in there? And John's like, oh, sorry. He's like, you're trespassing on my land. And sure enough, it's Dan, the owner of the Haunting Lodge. And, John's such a nice guy. Dan was like asking him, what are you doing? Like, and I'm sure Dan was packing. I'm sure, he doesn't he doesn't go around his land
You're in
without,
Georgia, pal.
yeah.
Get off my.
Exactly. And then John was like, hey, I'm just looking for ghosts. He's just straight up with them. And I think Dan was just kind of like took a liking to it and just was like, you know what, like, ghosts, if you want to see some ghosts, follow me. And he got in the car and they drove down the road and took him to the haunting lodge, and John got in there and shot some photos, and it just, and then he contacted us afterwards. He had a few locations, but that one, I don't know, like that one just they had a residual haunting. I thought, like, we kind of, all the signs of the activity when we were first talking about it, because there was no investigators that had gone in there, so there wasn't many claims of paranormal along the lines of paranormal investigators, any evidence, but it was like the hunters that were having the issues, and they would all tell Dan the same thing. So we're kind of like, well, maybe this is residual, maybe this is something we could kind of look at. Like, I don't know if anybody's really covered a residual haunting, you know what I mean? Like, residual haunting is always kind of put on the back burner kind of thing. It's like, well, there's this and then there's this, so we were like interested in that. But when we got there, it was like just a whole different experience than what we expected. And yeah, we ended up documenting what some of the hunters had experienced, so that was good. But there was other layers there that were wild.
Well, there's a couple of things that work there, I would imagine. The first is it's kind of a unique place, so that's interesting, a hunting lodge. Okay, maybe you haven't done one of those before, so
yeah.
But then, as a filmmaker, it comes down to, is there a story here? So,
right,
2 hours. I don't want to give the whole documentary away.
Yeah.
You want people to watch it. Listen to me. I want you to watch it.
Oh, thank you.
Well, what was in Cliff Notes versions the story? Because, okay, you've got a bunch of guys who are heavily armed that go into this place seasonally or year-round, or whatever it is, who eventually come to realize that if a shadow pops up, you can't fire a round into it.
Yeah.
It's not going to do any good except do damage and possibly even worse. So how long has this been going on? How long did Dan own this place? And what was the stories that you were able to get out of these people?
Yeah. When we initially went there, Dan before we leave, we initially do interviews, make sure like everybody's good. There's a lot of people out there that are, want to get you out there. They're kind of telling stories and whatnot just to get publicity for their place, or what, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to do a formal interview setup and stuff. So we do, our screening stuff, but Dan just didn't fit the bill of anybody wanting like paranormal anything to do anything paranormal. So like, that was kind of interesting. The fact that nobody had ever investigated the place, and there's these grown men that are terrified of the place, and essentially it was kind of affecting his business, because some people, they stopped going, not a ton, but like they were affected so much that they just had these experiences. Everything from, footsteps walking through the door. That was the thing that got Dan, was like, I'm hearing all these stories from people that have never met each other. They've never come in contact with each other. They're hunters that come for a block of time, a week, a few days. And like, they all experience the same thing. It's like, hey, Dan, did you come in here last night and make a ton of ruckus trying to mess with us? Hey, did you come through the door and slam it? Hey, did you walk down the hall? There was like all these stories that Dan had heard from the people that were staying there. And that's initially why he thought his place was haunted. And that's kind of what he told, John Doherty, initially. And so, yeah, we were kind of interested why these hunters would be so scared. And the aspect of a residual haunting was kind of neat to kind of peel back the onion on that. I think that was our initial kind of story thinking going in, and what got us there. Also, it's remote. It has less contamination than others. It doesn't have a city around it, and it's kind of somewhere we felt comfortable possibly moving in, because that's kind of our thing. Vera and I, we like to immerse into to experience and see, experience what the homeowners are experiencing, what people are experiencing when they live there, and allow ourselves to have kind of a long duration to the phenomena in hopes to capture it. So that was a spot that was going to let us do it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got to find. I got to find a way to get back to Curse City and try to establish. It was a place that we'd been to many times here in Central Florida, in the Ocala National Forest. Everything you're describing reminds me of this location. And same thing, they had set aside these little bungalows, if you will, for the hunters to come in. Big area for hunting. And I know how active that place is and was. And I'm wondering again, when you come across some place like this, do you just kind of realize that you've struck gold? And does it also perpetuate the interest for other locations that are this far off from the main path of everything else? It's again that lack of contamination. Curse City was the same thing. It just in the middle of nowhere, so you could pick up on everything. And if you heard something, you knew it wasn't something driving down the road or somebody screaming. It was an amazing experience to it. Does it kind of perk up your ears to any stories you hear of other locations like this?
Yeah, there's been a few locations that have been isolated like this that I've really liked and enjoyed. Usually the isolated ones are more difficult with the logistics of filming and production, but that never sways away. If it's a good enough location, you're going to go there no matter what. This one was just more serendipity. I feel like I don't know. It's just kind of weird how we ended up there. I mean, there was no real like solid drive like the Conjuring House. It was like to stay at the Conjuring House was like my favorite movie was the Conjuring film, the first one, and to have the opportunity to move in there and live and document it and do a documentary about it. It was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But essentially, like, honestly, Vera and I kind of went there. We're looking at possibly doing like a YouTube show or some kind of YouTube channel, or, we weren't really sure we didn't really have like, oh, we're going to do a documentary. It's going to be about this. It was more of kind of like a location scout sort of. It's, the location's like 7 hours from our house. So it wasn't too bad of a drive, compared to the Conjuring House, which I think was 14 or 15 hours. So, it just had a draw to it. And John, honestly, John gave us like, he sent us probably 10 locations that we had looked at. He found some really good ones, like really great ones. And we kind of, that one just stuck out, and I don't know why. I don't know what it was, but it just had the look and the claims and some of the draw. The town had the history. We didn't really dive into the history right away, but we had known that there was a possibility because there was Indian burial mounds kind of nearby. So we knew that,
there you go.
Oh, this could be possibility, some kind of Native American something or other. And so we, when we kind of first initially went there, we were thinking that was going to be the case.
What every location's got, it's a little bit different. It's got its own fingerprint. At Conjuring House, when you did the Sleepless Unrest, it's a very active place. Putting the movie aside, you got to put the movie aside.
Yeah.
Conjuring movie, that's something different. But a lot of startling things a lot of surprising things there, but everybody had kind of made their peace with it. We just want to document this, learn a little bit more. The house in between, oh God, help me with the owner's name. Is it Jennifer?
It's Alice Jackson.
Okay, Alice Jackson. I'm sorry. I don't know where I
No
got
worries.
Jennifer from, but this is a case where there's some unnerving things going on there. And there was actually a sequel to this, a follow-up on it. Where do you put the lodge? Basically on that scale between we made our peace with it, but there's something really disturbing here. What was kind of like Dan's approach to it? Do I just want proof? Do I want to have this thing, you know, ejected off the premises? Or because every place is a little bit different, and the owner or steward of the place wants something a little bit different.
Absolutely. No, I mean, Vera and I have been very fortunate that each of our films kind of stands on its own and is just a completely different vibe and story and, you know, style. You know, the house in between is Alice Jackson, who essentially had this profound paranormal experience and moved out of her beautiful house that she built for herself, her dream home. So, you know, that was unnerving to Steve and I. You know, our goal was to get her to move in the whole time, and that was kind of the premise of the film, was the process of getting her okay, and, you know, trying to show her that, you know, this is scientifically, this is probably, you know, maybe it's the electrical, or maybe it's this or that, or, you know, and in the end we end up, you know, showing that, you know, we experienced some of the things that she was encountering, and we were able to document them. And sometimes the homeowner feels really good that you do that, and that's kind of Vera and I's you know, our job is to document this stuff, and I think it helps people to see, like, hey, I'm not crazy, I did see that. You know, with our knowledge, we're able to properly document the best we can, you know, to get a good piece of evidence for people to see. But for Dan, it was completely different. The movie's completely different. It's definitely a case out of my many cases that I've done and been a part of on the shows and, you know, the documentaries and stuff. This one took Vera and I for a loop. Vera had a very profound experience there when we were sleeping there. You know, it's in the movie. We weren't able to kind of dive deep into it just because we didn't have a ton of stuff on it, but the story was, I mean, it was just wild what happened to her, and it's what brought us back to kind of figure out. But Vera was terrified after that, the experience, and I think she experienced some of the things that the hunters had experienced while they're there. And for Dan, you know, I think after Vera and I both, we got into the edit, and, you know, you see every muscle on everybody's face when they're telling you stuff, and you see every little thing about people. And we're kind of thinking that Dan knew more than he was kind of telling us. And I know homeowners sometimes call investigators in to see, you know, maybe they'll get what I, you know, that other thing that I saw. Maybe they'll, you know, capture that one thing that terrorized me, you know. And I think Dan knew a lot about the lodge, but I feel like there was a couple things he was kind of like, I wonder if they'll come across some of that, you know what I mean? And you know, we had some very profound, crazy experiences there with lights and very heavy-footed footsteps. And I don't want to give all our stuff away, but, you know, it's just, yeah, I think for Dan, it was more about, you know, what the heck is going on here, and more about figuring out, you know, what his hunters are kind of experiencing. I think that was it. I think he was just curious.
How quick question. How about how old is this lodge?
It was built in the, I want to say the 40s. Vera's got that in her in her notes so well. But yeah, I believe it was built in the 40s. It had been, it's kind of like a plantation. It was always kind of had a little general store out front, so the owner would do commerce out of the front of the house, and yeah,
Very
it's just
Georgian, very
yeah,
Georgian.
very
Yeah.
Very Georgian, and it had a like a pretty wealthy family that had moved in there and lived there for a while, and they actually yeah, they lived there for a long time. The road was named after them, and yeah, they held on to the lodge for a long time, and then it sold hands again, and then the lodge kind of went abandoned for a while, and then Dan had acquired a lot of the land there for his farming, and that came with the land, and then he started fixing the lodge up to get some hunters in, and kind of start promoting his hunting lodge there. But that's always been kind of a side business for him. It's open only part of the season, and whatnot. So
What and how old was Alice's house?
Alice's house was built in the 90s. Yeah, it's pretty new. Yeah.
Okay,
And
so now you have the Conjuring house in the 1730s. So
yes, yeah.
you're pretty much run the gamut here. When
Mhm.
people say, "Oh, does a place have to be old to be haunted?" You've got the 1700s,
Yes.
the 1940s,
Yes.
and you have a house that was built in the 90s. So obviously, it doesn't matter.
I mean, I'm with you guys. Like, I'm still, the further we dive deep into this, and you guys are probably right there with me, but you just kind of become more questions. It's the deeper you go, it's like, gosh, it's an open-ended book for sure. And, to be able to say, well, it's the house or the land or whatever, that's a very hard thing to put my finger on, because, science and just very, numerous factors for it. But it's interesting. I'd have to agree with you. Like, from the 3 years of, the structure being, I don't think it matters. It doesn't, I don't think it matters. Activity, can happen anywhere, it's,
Yes.
I've heard claims of people having stuff happen on airplanes. Like, it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's something further than we can't even put a fathom or put a finger on.
Yeah. I think that what you were talking about before with residual, we've discussed this time and again. I personally, and maybe this is something that you've hit upon, and maybe we'll be pursuing this more, but I personally feel that residual hauntings are the answer for what it is that we're doing. The possibility, Kendall, that down the way we could discover the predictability, so that when things are coming up, because of the weather conditions, because of the lunar cycle, because of an anniversary, things of that sort, that may create this energy burst at that moment. And of course, more and more science has to be entered into it also. But from a perspective of an investigator, to be able to say, we know, every third month at this time of the night, this is going to be transpired. Is this something that has always been going on in your head, or has, kind of a light bulb gone off now that, yeah, we're starting to see that there's a pattern to this?
No, you're absolutely right. It's something that I've been adamant about for a very long time, documenting, trying to find the patterns, trying to find, with the shows that I've worked on. I mean, the investigators that I've worked with, they're adamant about, logging, like keeping meticulous notes and whatnot. So, that's very, very important. It's actually so important. I did a book, actually. It's called the Paranormal Logbook. So I did it for us so we can log our cases and keep everything, like what you're exactly talking about. We can keep everything, all the information logged and everything. And at some point, once databases get better and AI gets better, maybe we can find some predictability to this phenomena. So I think the notes and the stuff that we take now later on, technology might be able to help us with predicting.
There may be somebody from the outside, like a statistician, who
There
will
you
look
go. Yeah.
and be able to read between the words and figure out that there is something that's already there. We've just not really looked at it other than our paranormal experience. They're going to look at it from, from a numerical perspective. We can figure this out. This seems to be a trend here. Love to see this happen someday. I really would. I think it's something we're still missing. Kendall Whelpton is our guest. Vera will be joining us here in a little while. We're talking about the wonderful films that they've put together. Again, don't forget to hit that thumbs up for us, guys. Always important that you do that. I know there's some questions already in the chat, Ken. If you want to get to those now, or you want to wait until we get Vera on camera, it's up to you, sir.
We can certainly get to those because I think there's going to be more to follow. So our friend Jeff Hilton wants to know, Kendall, have you ever started filming a project and the evidence lead you in a way that you never expected to go? How about every time?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very good question. Yeah, I mean, every case, every documentary that we've done, we definitely gotten surprised. I mean, the sleepless unrest, my big surprise was outside, the activity outside. The house in between, the first one, the ball rolling down the stairs on me. I mean, that took me by storm. The haunting lodge it took us like completely by storm. We had, it was just changing for us. So yeah, projects definitely take a turn, and there's something that we're lucky, Vera and I, for producing these, is that we kind of don't go in with a formulated plan because of that. We kind of document. That's our style, is we'll go in and kind of document our experience to allow our audience to kind of experience it with us as we're learning. And that allows us to be able to kind of turn if we have to. If something happens and it shows more Native American, or it shows more poltergeist or whatever, you're gonna kind of flip the whole film around to kind of go towards that way. So us doing these documentaries ourselves, with Robot Ninja, our company, we're able to kind of turn on a dime and focus on what the doc is telling us to make, because we just kind of follow the story. Alice's house, we kind of went in, we were kind of wondering if the investigators were faking stuff. I always kind of got to wonder about that. And we kind of went in thinking, well, maybe we can debunk everything and figure it out and get Alice back in the house. And that's the documentary. But, well, of course we found out that, there's no way that those guys are faking stuff. And there's no way that balls can move on their own. There was no magnets. We did a lot of stuff. Steve and I did a lot of, debunking ourselves off camera, trying to figure it out. But
and Steve Gonzalez.
Steve Gonzalez, yeah. My partner on House Between 1 and 2, and just of Ghost Hunters I worked with. Shoot, I just saw him yesterday. He was in North Carolina doing an event. I was able to see him. I haven't seen him in a while, so it was great. But yeah, him and I have known each other for almost 20 years now. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. I've learned a lot from him. It's pretty awesome. I've been very lucky and blessed to be able to work with some of the guys that I have, Jay and Steve and Tango, and gosh, the list goes on and on and on. But yeah, they've really laid the groundwork for what we're doing now, and it's just been a blessing.
I've been barking up that tree for years when people ask me to describe what it is that you do. I'm not a filmmaker, but I said, basically, I'm a documentarian. We record, we videotape, we don't have a bias which way or another, which sometimes telling people that is a losing battle, but so be it.
Yeah.
So be it, whatever.
Yeah.
But we're documenting for the most part. Turn the camera on, and what everybody does or doesn't do or whatever it happens, we record it. So
Absolutely.
that's
No, absolutely. We're journalists, paranormal journalists. We're there to just show what's happening. You know, we're there to document the best we can and tell the story as it unfolds. And you know, it's not in our business to be pushing a story one way or another. You know, it's very, very important that we're out there doing a good job documenting this stuff, because I know you guys probably have seen years of you know, elusive footage, shaky footage, just barely caught footage. It's like, it's hard, man. It's really hard to capture this stuff.
sometimes it's just a matter of pure dumb luck. The right place
Yeah,
at the right time.
I agree. I mean, most of the time, yeah.
Yeah, I wish we could say it's the skill set that we bring to it, but a lot of times it really is what now?
Yeah, exactly.
We'll go on to another question. Armageist, I'm very curious if he, meaning you, believes these events are purely caused by the Brown Mountain entities. Okay. Does that extend? I know that's in North Carolina.
Yeah, yeah.
Or
Brown Mountain.
spirits, are they interdimensional, extra-dimensional, or extraterrestrial? Have you formed an opinion on that so far?
Well, okay, so I can tell you right now at this point that you know, this movie has completely changed our course on our filmmaking and kind of the evidence and what we saw at the haunting lodge. So yes, that does go along with what we've encountered. I'm not ready to form an opinion yet on what I think it is, but I will say that we are progressive. You know, this was done a while ago, so for years we've been studying this light phenomena now after we first encountered it, and it's very, very fascinating to both of us, and it's become an obsession for both of us. And we're documenting you know, the Brown Mountain lights. There's also Min lights out in Australia. There's Marfa lights. So it's not just a phenomena that's happening in one place, but and that's what I love about, you know, what we're doing, is that, you know, we get some kind of evidence, or we get, you know, a lead or whatever, and we follow it, and then it takes you down the rabbit hole. And right now we're currently very, very deep down the rabbit hole of this ULA stuff, unidentified light anomalies. And it's very interesting, these lights, which we did encounter in Georgia, and they were interacting with us intelligently. So what they are, I just don't know. But yeah, we're trying to figure that out right now. It's very interesting.
I had a question about that, what you just talked about, going down the rabbit hole. I'm gonna hang in there until we get, you know, Vera at whatever point, because I wanted to ask you both. Let's go on to another question here, George. Jason would like to know if you think the lights outside of the lodge are similar to the lights seen outside the Conjuring house.
Ooh, good question.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I'm wondering if they are. We documented both forms of light on 2 different cameras, which, you know, we got them on a GoPro, we got them on our Blackmagic camera, and we got them on the EMCCD photon camera at the Conjuring home. We also documented them at Georgia on our EMCCD photon camera, the GoPro, and the black. No, did we get it on the Blackmagic? No, we did not. It was the GoPro and the EMCCD camera in Georgia. So we are documenting these light anomalies in both places, outside, in the trees, and that's very interesting to us. I'm not sure if they're connected. I'm not sure if it's a phenomena that exists near hauntings, around hauntings, but that's kind of where the onion starts to peel back, is are we focusing on these locations internally so much that, you know, because for us at the Conjuring House, we flipped the camera around and, you know, because we heard noises in the woods and there's light anomalies. So I'm just wondering if there's more going on at some of these locations with the land and whatnot, you know. But if they're connected, I'm not sure. I don't know.
One of these days, if you're interested, Kendall, we have some FLIR footage of something in the woods, you know, backyard of the Conjuring House, tree line way in the
yeah.
And we picked up something. I wasn't present for it. Julie DeMay from our group had a FLIR going, pretty interesting thing. When it comes down to these lights, a few months ago, we actually did kind of like a geological survey of the property there. I don't want to make it sound too highfalutin. We're not geologists, but, you know, no investigating. We just went outside, took readings, samples, some metal detecting, things like that to try to find out why exactly these things happen. They're pretty close to some power lines, so I don't know if it's organic that's somehow activated or agitated by microwaves or whatever, but, you know, nonetheless, even if it is, that's pretty darn interesting. And finally, Jeff Hilton again.
I would
Kendall,
love to see that footage.
That's awesome. Kendall, what keys do you look for in deciding whether you want to do a documentary or not?
Yeah, I think the main thing is the people involved. You know, if there's a situation that somebody is dealing with something that they're, I think more on the personal level. Vera and I would probably choose a personal level type situation over maybe just like you know, a huge you know, square foot wise building that, you know, has you know, a lot of creepy looking rooms and stuff. We would probably choose a personal case, but anything pops, you know, just anything that's different. I really do like the ones that are that haven't been investigated, that come with no extra baggage, you know. I like Vera and I, you know, we just look for the history. I think the history is very important in places, and I'm so excited.
All right. Well, that's our show, guys. I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome. Good to see you again.
Hello. Long time no see.
I know. Oh, like
so
you keep talking.
No, I'm just yeah. We were talking about why do we choose a location? What are some of the peak interests of choosing a location? I was just saying kind of the more personal.
That's funny. We're just talking about that.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, more personal cases that we like and the people involved and stuff.
I'm always curious from an investigator standpoint. Ken and I have had this conversation a multitude of times, and I'm wondering your perspective on the opinions and the input from psychic mediums, if you've utilized them at this point in time, such as these light anomalies. Are you getting descriptions from them if you've used them? And if not, will you use them in the future to see if they can give you more of an answer of what it is you're experiencing?
Yeah, so in the Haunting Lodge, we brought in Jill Morris. She is a psychic, and a psychic that we've worked with before. We trust. She's been on The House in Between, and we brought her in because of the phenomena that we experienced. We felt it necessary to bring in Jill. So when we did, we were very surprised what she had told us, and you know that's all documented in the film and everything. But yeah, it took us by surprise, and
I mean, it was just more than anything for peace of mind, I think, because what we encountered was so physical, and it was just more than anything, hey, more like a friend at, perspectives. Like, what do you think this is? This is our case that we're doing, studying. What do you think it is? And for us, it's always just more like, what's your opinion more than anything, instead of like, you tell me what it is, and we're just know that that's what it is. It's more like insight and a little guidance.
Yeah, it's another angle or a way to kind of see what's going on. I mean, we use the photon cameras. I'm not opposed to anything and trying it and give a judgment. I mean,
just stay objective too.
Yeah.
Well, a credible psychic can give you, when we talk about it a lot, emotional content. Because we can get names and dates and verify those and document them, but it's invaluable when someone can give you the idea of what someone's thinking or what led them to the decisions that they're, to stay, to go, to come back, to visit, to leave.
She's very good at that. And it's been, she's scary sometimes.
Yeah.
So what's curious about it too,
information.
and we've got to jump to break here in 60 seconds, but just that aspect of having a psychic come in to, number one, help reinforce the aspect of residual, because they're not really going to get the contact, the communication from an intelligent haunt from a residual that they could back up and verify that. And in contrast to those light anomalies that are occurring, to be able to sense if there is intelligence or emotion or anything with regards to that coming into the picture. I want to get you guys' opinion on that on the other side of the break. But right now, guys, we got to take our normal break at the top of the hour. When we come back, we'll continue our talk with two wonderful producers, directors, investigators. They do it all. And they're going to be joining us here on the other side as well, Kendall and Vera Whelpton. You're watching Dead or Live on the Dead or Full Spectrum channel. We'll be right back.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
As UFO reports come in from around the world, the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, is there. We continue to explore new cases and build our massive database. We share our information with the world in a number of ways. If you would like to be part of our investigative team, you are always welcome. What could be more exciting than exploring the UFO question firsthand? Join MUFON, find your friends.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
George Norrie here. The 10th anniversary of Contact in the Desert is the weekend of May 30th through June 3rd. Join me along with Whitley Strieber, Andrew Collins, Richard Dolan, and over 70 experts discussing ufology, government disclosure, artificial intelligence, and much more. And for the first time, I'll share the stage with Coast to Coast AM weekend host George Knapp. So make sure and join us for our Ask George and George discussion. 1-day and 5-day passes available now at contactinthedesert.com. Don't miss out. That's contactinthedesert.com.
We are back for the second hour with our two wonderful guests here. And I notice again, very smart, Kendall, put Vera's name first, Kendall Whelpton joining us. So again, Vera, we're done talking with Kendall. We're talking for the first hour. We're talking.
You can keep talking to him. He's fascinating.
Wanted to continue that discussion about psychic mediums, intuitives that come in to do the investigation. And you said you had one. But my question was the difference. Are they confirming on residuals, and are they giving you any viewpoints on these light anomalies that you're experiencing?
She did. She did, in fact. You know, with her, she trusted, so we didn't want to tell her anything, because then we start doubting. If we give her information and then she tells us something, then we second guess, because we question everything, even our friends. So we didn't want to tell her anything, and she was okay with that. And then we told her, can we fly you into, we actually flew her into, what is the neighboring state? I'm blanking out.
Alabama?
Alabama,
Yeah.
yes. And we had to pick her up there. And then
So she wouldn't be able to search anything
like,
about a
search in
location.
her way there.
Gotcha.
We were like, no, we're not going to do any.
I feel bad. We torture her. We're like, pack your bag.
Whatever. That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. But as soon as she got in the car, that's why we left that scene, the long scene in the car, because that was truly reality. She got in the car and she started reading the locations, which to us is like, okay, this is scary.
There's no way.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Then she showed us some drawings that she did a month before.
Before we called her. Yeah.
Wow. You guys bonked. Like who does that? And the house was almost identical. She has some differences, of course, but I'm gonna say 80%.
Yeah,
Even the
it is.
Like the
Even the tree in the background, and then the stairs. Everything was proportionate. The style of home.
Yeah.
The porch. Like, I mean, it was wild.
Then
Yeah.
at that moment, all this is happening before we even got to the house. So at that moment, she got our attention. Obviously, we were like, "All right, woman, tell us what this is. Like, what can we do in this room and not touch me and scare the crap out of me?" And like, now I want some answers. So we just let her go. And the main question was a residual, and she clearly said, "Oh no, this is completely 100% intelligent." And I was like,
really?
"Oh, yeah."
Yeah, we thought it was Native American. We thought like it was going to go, to possible slavery or like the wars. Like there was so many other things that were, and then she's like,
so much death. I mean, just through the history that we did. I mean, there's
like the Trail of Tears started in that area. It's like wild, and then she's like, no, it's otherworldly. We're like, what?
I mean, there used to be a town that was just like thriving, and it was the town, that with the steamboats.
Yeah, the steamboats. Yeah, it was
now
like
it's just empty, barely, not empty, but like very, very low populated, and just farms.
Rural, yeah.
Like it's just shocking to see how just the history.
Yeah.
So we totally expected she was gonna go there, and she did. So then the lights, just to answer real quick, the lights is what just literally like made me just, what in the world? Like, I think we capture evidence ESP as well as evidence, unexplained evidence, which is the lights, because this person, psychic friend of ours, is in front of the EMCCD camera. I'm just monitoring the EMCCD camera. Would you explain already what it is?
the photon camera. Yeah, it can pick up light and all.
Which, like, it's one of the good pieces of
I really like that. That's my favorite piece of evidence gear.
She's in front of camera. You go in the field. You're trying to communicate with whatever's out there, and she's telling you, "They're coming to your right. What's your left pocket?" You're like, what do you mean? And because you felt something touch you, and I'm just thinking, oh my goodness. But then at that moment, the light appears on my camera to the left of Kendall, And then she continues this. Okay, they're telling me they're coming over here, and then boom, I get a head on the camera. At this moment, I'm like, I just keep looking at Eric, who was filming there with us, and he's looking at me to like, we were not expecting that. I've never seen anything like it in all these years of investigating.
Yeah, she was calling out where these light anomalies were eventually showing up on our camera.
Now, what they are, I have no idea. What it is, I have no idea.
What did you
life-changing.
What did you conclude if she's calling out these light anomalies? What did you conclude that the light anomalies were? If she was able to let you know ahead of time something's going to show up here, did you ever get to the point where you reached a conclusion, or did she? And again, I don't want to tell the entire documentary here, but was there ever any conclusion? It's like, this is what we're looking at.
Unfortunately not. Like everything else, we can speculate for hours. She told us what she thinks it is, and we kind of have to go with it, but like, again, without proof or evidence, we can take her word completely 100%. Is still, we need evidence. So what she's saying, the closest thing that we got was that the clear evidence that she was communicating with something, and whatever she said, like, there's a moment where she goes, get ready for the show. Get ready for the show.
Get ready for the show.
And then that's
walking out there.
This gigantic, like,
ball of light, like a huge ball of light.
I just saw the end of it on the camera, but I didn't even see with my own eyes because the camera was like blasting with my eyes.
Yeah.
Like, you experienced it with your own eyes.
Yeah, I could see it. Well, we captured it on the camera, but I could see it with my own eyes as well, which was
so we can
just wild.
Like, we spent months.
No, years. We had it.
And she manipulating the air. She like some sort of like airbender.
Oh yeah, I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah. The Matrix, like, or it's like, it's a really truly a being, like unknown being. Like, even when, like, maybe it's just like a natural being that exists that hasn't been discovered. Like, imagine you meet a dolphin in the ocean for the first time, like when you're seeing fish all your life, and now this fish that you think is a fish is interacting with you because it's highly intelligent, but it's just another sea animal. Like, we even speculate.
Yeah, I mean, why we find it fascinating is because our cameras weren't emitting light. Like, that's what's great about the photon camera, is that when it's filming, there's no other light, and we're filming towards the darkness. I mean, the trees and the dark in a field, and it was so interesting to see like these lights coming from the trees towards us in the field, like, and there's nothing like with IR light, you shoot the IR light out and anything can reflect off of it. That's how orbs, some orbs are dust, so like, it was fascinating. Number one, we have these light anomalies happening, emitting light on their own free kind of will, and then we have a psychic medium going, okay, they're telling me they're going to show up on your right. And then sure enough, it's like, boom, there they are. It's, I mean, I don't know.
Well, let me ask you a question, because in your documentaries, you're not just inside with stationary cameras filming all the spooky rooms. You spend a lot of time outdoors. Is that by choice, or is it because that seems to be part of that particular story? There are things that go on outdoors, because in all of them you seem to have an interest in what's going on outside of the footprint of the home itself.
I think early on in our careers we had this conversation where we realized that we were focusing so much indoors, and then we had a personal experience at the cabin.
Off camera.
We never filmed.
We had a personal experience.
Our kids were involved, and that really, like, I think that's the reason why we decided to start filming.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean,
because we didn't film any of that. It became just a personal story, but it was highly profound.
Yeah.
But that brought us outside.
Yeah,
and
that
I
was
think that experience is when we decided, we should focus inside and outside, because we really don't know what's happening. And there's so much talk about the land and the land this and the land that, why are we not going outside? I think the main, you told me this, like the main holding was the capability of cameras
Mhm.
to actually record in the dark.
Yeah, the hold back.
And with
Yeah.
technology,
Yeah.
the technology now available with cameras able, you know,
We're
being able to
seeing further. We're seeing more.
Yeah, being able to
It's getting
actually
better.
film
It's
in the
catching up.
dark.
It's yeah.
It's
So
making it easier for people to do that. So it was just no brainer for us to decide to go outside. The Conjuring House, it kind of happened.
it just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were. You know what it
planning because
was?
It was freezing cold.
Yeah, it was
and we
freezing.
didn't want to.
But also, Corey said a claim that was really neat, and I really thought was interesting. Corey had said, you know, there was a group of investigators here a week before, and they saw a flash, like a light anomaly, go flying from the tree line into the fireplace, into the chimney, and I was like, that's weird. I rarely hear about that kind of claim. So that's when I was like, well, if I'm going to catch it, I'll do it on the photon camera. And so went out there and pointed it at the house, and I was, we're investigating the outside at that point, and that's when the noises in the woods turned us around, and there they are.
It's almost like he was calling,
Well, there's two of these places that we talked about before: Conjuring House, 1700s.
Yeah.
The Hunting Lodge, 1940s.
What was the Hunting Lodge?
And
1940s. Sorry, Baron knows better.
Somewhere around there.
When they built it.
Yeah, it was.
It was the 1940s, right? Yeah.
Probably.
1940s, and then Alice's house in the 1990s.
90s, yeah.
So I was just curious whether or not you go in saying, okay, two of those places aren't the usual haunts.
Yeah.
A hunting lodge and a house that was built in the 90s. So maybe it's in your mind, okay, what is it about this? Is it the people themselves? Is it the land? So it makes perfect sense to me to make time to survey the property as well. Maybe something happens, maybe it doesn't. Even if there aren't any claims, hey, you got the time to do it. Go set some cameras up. Sure.
Is this what the photon cameras look like?
That looks like possibly one of them. It's probably very similar to that. Yeah. What
is the actual concept of a photon camera?
So the photon camera, it sees, it's a low light, high sensitive sensor that can see in total darkness. The government uses it for scientific purposes. There's scientists that like to use it for microscope cameras. They use it for currency detection.
You said it was studied for photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis. It's a multiplying photon event. So photons happen within the electromagnetic field, and this camera, the theory of in our world is that things can manipulate the electromagnetic field. Well, within that manipulation, there's photons happening. So if you see a photon with the photon camera, we get alarmed, especially if there's a cluster. Some really great evidence that we captured on Ghost Hunters. Brandon Alvis had brought the photon camera to that investigation, and we captured just some phenomena that I've never seen before. Full body apparition. It looked like a nurse. There was an outline, and it was very interesting too how it came into. It actually came into physical form. It was like this very electrical kind of charge that happened, and you could see the photon camera kind of working. And so the photon camera basically picks up on the event, the photon, and it multiplies. And so it alarms the
light
camera.
Appears brighter than what it truly is.
Yes, because the camera is so sensitive, the light will show itself a lot more distinct. Yeah.
Yeah, because in the field, I remember it. Whatever little bit of thing I saw with my own eyes, it was little flickers of light, and they were really faint.
Yeah,
you were in the dark.
I could see
them better.
I could see them, and so what showed up on the photon camera doesn't look anything like what you see with your eyes. They actually explode more on camera because the camera is so sensitive.
One shocking thing that happened is when we interviewed the historian, we weren't expecting any paranormal. We were just focusing on the history. Out of nowhere, it turned out to be that he knew a lot about the paranormal and the location. And he actually investigated some of these things, and he actually witnessed the lights at some point, and he said they're out there. I mean, he's the one who said it. It's not a new thing. They're in different areas all across the world. He mentioned Australia and Texas marble lights.
What they are, we don't know.
He says what they are, we don't know. But he said what they look like to me. He said a small little
LED lights. Yeah,
like
he explained it exactly. That's what we. Because that's the thing about the photon camera is it shows black and white, but actually the color of these lights I saw an orange amber looking one, I saw a blue one, I saw a red one. So they're interesting. They're not all the same.
But he also mentioned that these things have been documented since 1700.
Yeah, well, the Brown Mountain Lights have
forever.
Brown Mountain Lights have been documented for a long time. The Brown Mountain Lights, they debunked those. They said, oh, it's a train, but there's no train in the area. Everybody wants to debunk. And
humans are always trying to
I would buy an organic solution before I bought trains in the area.
They said people said the legend is that somebody's lost child is being looked for. It's just wild.
Well, it just shows you that regardless of what the explanation is, it shows that something is happening.
Yeah,
and every
exactly.
generation just put their twist in an attempt to understand what it is.
That's a perfect way to ask you a question about that, because Vera, we were talking before about going down rabbit holes.
Oh.
Okay. And, as it related to the Brown Mountain Lights and things like that, but brought up a question in my mind, because when you go into these places, and I'm sure you got this at the Conjuring House, because I've gotten it at the Conjuring House. And whether it's the Lodge, whether it's Alice, no matter where you go, you're going to hear stories. And in those stories, you're also going to hear urban legends. You're going to hear conspiracy theories. You're going to hear assumptions and speculations and projections. So when you're making a film as documentarians, where are your guardrails on that? Like, you're taking it all in. You're not maybe just dismissing it out of hand. But a lot of these things, you know how myths are and folklore is, and they kind of get blown up. So how do you stay on track when it comes to that kind of stuff?
That's a really good question.
I think for me, it would be my experience just seeing so much with the amount of investigations I've been part of, and learning about, light refraction. I feel like I have a very good sense because I operate camera for a living. I mean, my life is that lens and that camera. So I understand very, very well how cameras operate, how light is manipulated, how light is crafted. So I have a very very detailed mindset. I have the knowledge for camera. So reflections.
So
and
you move through the information. You're able to go down the emotional rabbit.
The emotional. I don't get attached to it right away. I'm like, okay, I have to make sure this is not a sensor error.
Right.
Which
But our style, we take everything in.
Yeah.
We decided early on to listen. Let's just take everything in. Let's not, debunk right away, just out of impulse or because that's what you're accustomed to do. Let's just take everything and let's document. Then we can sit down and analyze all the evidence and then go through it and think about it, have a conversation.
When you hear a story and before you go commit 7 cameras in an area to a story where you're like, I mean, you've got better use of your resources.
Yes. Yes. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I mean, there's different approaches to
Yeah.
it. That's what we choose to
There's
do.
many, yeah.
But the rabbit hole question is really important because, oh boy, that last one, it's been a rabbit hole. It's been, and there's times we just gotta take breaks and like, okay, we're going really deep here.
Yeah.
And also for, you know, your mental health. You know, because sometimes you encounter this like that, and you're like, oh, like, what am I gonna do with this? I don't have information. This is what my mind up, and they're like, hey, close the chapter. Boom, time for a break. Let's go get a coffee. Come
Take a
on.
breath.
Let's go. And
then we research, and then we find, you know, somebody else that has documented it or whatever. Yeah. 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 We try not to jump to conclusions right away.
But there's some things that were like, I'm still sketching our head on. But I think that's why it's so important to have a community with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
bounce stuff off of people.
And you know, show your research and share your research and talk to each other. And,
we were talking about that earlier. That we all agree about data logging and being able to document. You know, basically take detailed information and notes on everything that's happening. Because like later on in the future, we said this before.
I told you this.
Yeah.
Like, it might not even be for us.
Yeah.
Somebody who hasn't even been born yet. They might be able to do something with it.
Is there always the fear? Now, we're not saying that this haunting lodge is the next conjuring house, but you may stumble upon something so intense and so consistent with its phenomena occurring that it is going to rival that of some of the most haunted locations in the country. Do you prepare the property owners, or do you say, look, there's a possibility after this a swarm of paranormal investigators are going to want to come in and do this? Do you prepare them for that? Do you have that expectation with having something brought out publicly such as this?
Yeah.
Well, prepare who?
Well,
the owners.
Alice. Yeah.
Oh, we do.
No, I know. But like for Alice, you know, it's kind of an ongoing study. So that was like a little, each case is kind of different. Yeah. But the haunting lodge, Dan
was not interested.
He was not, he was just curious about what the hunters were.
The way it happened, the synchronicity, the way it happened was so by accident that he was just like, all right, sure, why not? Have your friends come over and tell me what this is, because it's been going on for 12 years now. And then we showed up, and then we're like, whoa, they were pretty fascinated. And now he started having people show up.
Yeah, people are driving there.
That's
called
Yeah.
Hey guys, you know, like, oh, really?
Yeah, so we had to talk to him about it.
So you have the option to open the place during, you know, when it's no hunting season, and then maybe keep it for research. And you know, there's a lot of people that will love. Last night we were at an event, and you talked about that.
No, I just told myself Steve
last night, and we had someone approach and said, "How can I get into that location?" And we were just like, you know, we're talking to the owners.
Yeah, Dan's not really into it.
Alice, he possibly will.
Yeah,
he seemed like he possibly will. He's thinking about it.
Yeah, it's got to be managed in a certain way, because again,
I agree.
You can have good researchers that are going to come in there and basically just compound the evidence that you've already collected.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be the theatrical, which again, you are well aware of what The Conjuring has had to deal with in the past too. Everything's a demon and everything is, you know, I'm being attacked.
Yeah.
So it's got to be managed in a certain way. And I'm sure that this owner will probably, whether it's the two of you or somebody, make contact to say, you know, how do I deal with those that are going to come in and bastardize what we're experiencing here? Because it's almost a guarantee in this field, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
which
and it's up to the owner.
Yeah.
There's no. It's up
Well,
to the
the
owner.
thing is,
Alice has done it really well.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
The owner has the hammer on this, though.
Yeah.
You know, you can set whatever his criteria is, and maybe the best thing to do is find someone really reputable to kind of handle.
Yeah.
Those type of things.
No, I think you're onto something with that. Yeah, for sure.
And be honest with him, you know, vet people.
Yeah, that's the
You don't want the TikTokers in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, maybe he does.
I mean, I don't know. Like,
maybe he does.
I mean,
we were. He had like Dan at the haunting lodge. He has children, so we were worried about that. That was a concern. You know, we were like, okay, how is like their friends are going to react? And fortunately for us, everybody reacted really well.
they had a positive reaction.
Yeah, they had a really positive feedback.
The
with
unfortunate
Alice as
part,
well.
the unfortunate part of a property that has and shown this much activity is when it does get out there into social media. I mean, let's just state the facts here. There are paranormal investigators that will pay a lot more than hunters, you know, and he's going to sit there and realize at some point in time that, it's a market. Unfortunately, there is a market to it, but you know, and we've had property owners, right, Ken, that have come onto the show and said, you know, we have strict policies now when you come in, what you can and cannot do. And he may have to activate that same thing if it becomes monetarily worthwhile to open this up for research, to open this up to investigations, but set the ground rules. Otherwise, it'll just be a free for all. And
Well, we'll see where that goes. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to project too much on, because Dan might say, you know,
I mean, he's a really awesome guy, and
He's amazing. He's really nice.
Yeah.
The whole town.
yeah, the whole town. Yeah, that town is great. Like Fort Gaines, like they gave us like the red carpet over there. It was awesome.
Does that prompt you to look at that town for an expansion of this haunting? That there's other things going on because of the history of the land itself?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We've already given 2 more locations.
Yeah.
That could
Oh, really?
There's a lot going on there. Yeah, the history is like pretty wild, like pretty bloody too. Like, there's a lot going on there. But there's a couple other places that are on our radar there, and I'm sure if we started digging harder, we'd probably open up more, more. So
more seasonal, I would imagine too. You certainly
more
want
more locations.
Yeah. Dead of summer, not too good, and dead of winter, not too good either.
Yeah. No, that's definitely in the hot zone for the summer for sure.
We did winter.
I had a couple of questions I wanted to jump in with Vera, if I could. I don't want you to disclose this if you don't want to, because it's in the documentary, but the experience that you had there, how would you describe the aftermath of that, Vera? Was this something that was so profound or like life-changing to you in some way, or is that just being a little too dramatic about it?
No. I would say almost life-changing. I'm pretty good at staying. No, okay, it's been a while. It was extremely profound at the beginning. And I actually reached out to some people. Some of the first, I talked to Rochelle once on the phone, and I was just like, I'm just bursting into tears, and she barely even knew what to do. Because Ken in the beginning was very skeptical, so that was part of the big emotional, hurt, because when something profound happens, you want to lean into something for support. So sometimes you it was the fact that he was there and he didn't experience any of what I was talking about made it really hard for him to process.
Yeah.
And expect, other than to think maybe it was a dream, until he was able to find those little clues that told him this was not a dream. And then the digital recorder, that's what saved me. If I didn't have that digital recorder, because the cameras film nothing, like as we all used to, cameras usually don't film. They're so invisible. I don't know. But
signed up for this.
Yeah. But if I didn't have a digital recorder, it would have been just another experience. And that, thanks to that, I was able to get his attention enough to be like, okay, what happened? Otherwise, you would have just probably thought it was a bad dream.
And I want to be clear too. Like, I believed her. I just was like not completely convinced like it was a dream, like she said. But I just also knew that we had to stay there for a few more days, and I was like trying to downplay. I was just like,
you did.
I was just trying to like kill it, you know, like
I'm like,
you know, it's like I don't want you to be freaked out. I don't want you to be like, you know, you can end up not sleeping at a place.
I'll tell you, I wanted to leave that same morning. As soon as we figured it out, it did happen. We saw the recording, and we like you showed me the dresser, and it did happen. I was like, why in the world are you asking me to stay here again? I don't feel safe. This is something happened. I'm not gonna lie to you. There was a point where I thought, did I get drugged out? And someone really did walk in my room. It was so physical. It was so real. Like what? All these years of investigating, nothing has ever been this physical. It's always ghostly, spiritual experiences, you know.
It's like, Vera, you stick around long enough, it's going to happen.
I mean, and people have experienced physical things. They do happen. I just never experienced it myself that profound, that you know, we had physical experiences before. You know, you got hit the car once, like all kinds of things, but never that profound.
Well, also when you're sleeping, it's like
you didn't even like experience any. I don't know. Oof, yes, it affected me.
I was gonna say,
I can send you one of these if you want.
yes. I have one, but I'm almost out. I do have one. I didn't bring it. And I mean, what a girl! Like,
would you attribute
it affected her?
I posted it on Facebook as well, and I was hoping for support. I didn't say what it was, where I was, but I remember posting on Facebook because I needed someone to like kind of like bring me down to earth, like help me here. I was having a little bit of an emotional crisis.
Very serious question. Would you attribute this experience to the fact that this was a very masculine environment, in a sense, female trespassing where mostly the guys would be? Did you feel this almost like an oppressive male presence in that sense, that you were being victimized that way?
That's a good question.
Are we talking more so in the terms of malevolent spirit, malevolent energy versus a dominant male presence?
You know, when I experienced it, it didn't feel male or female.
Okay.
Which is really interesting because you usually do get a sense, right? It didn't feel male or female. It felt large. It felt large, big, heavy. It felt like
elemental,
strong, powerful. I have no idea. It felt physical, and it felt like it wasn't trying to hurt me. It was trying to get my attention.
Okay.
And somehow
succeeded.
It did something. It did. Well, it did also. I felt like something happened, but I just don't know exactly what happened. This wasn't a documentary, but I was for several times I did feel this like cocoon of energy all around me, like this like energy, like it's so intense, and like which is strange because I wonder if it does the sound that we capture on there was this buzzing sound for like 3-4 hours.
Audio gets like
that will come on, and
like that.
We could never
Digital
recreate that sound. At the time when it was happening, I was just thinking it could be, you know, we're close to the road. It could be that the semi truck's driving by. Maybe I'm more sensitive to like the ground is vibrating. Like the bed was shaking a couple times. I mean, there's so much that happened, but I was always in my head just debunking it. I didn't want to go there right away because I was there in the moment. I was trying to sleep.
She thought I was experiencing the same thing.
And he was quiet, and I thought, well, he's quiet, then I'm gonna be quiet. I'm just gonna let it play. Maybe we're capturing something on camera. And then something did like touch me in my shoulder. So I wasn't harmed in any way that I can think of or remember. It was more just so unexplainable and weird, like psychological, yeah. I don't know what it was. But later on, this wasn't a documentary either, but like a year later, the owner called and said that a hunter had a similar experience, and he was so freaked out. He said something happened that night, and he said similar things to what I experienced.
Okay, so you
And he
weren't
was
targeted
male.
for female then. You just
That
were
to
targeted.
answer is a long answer to your question, but I don't think so. I don't think so. When I asked Jill, this wasn't in the documentary, but she said that they came to me because they knew that I could hear them, because I was reacting to them, so they knew that they could communicate. But I kind of didn't. I blocked it because I was terrified. Unfortunately, that's what she said to me, and Kendall just left, I guess. You know?
I didn't have any.
But we don't know.
idea
She
until the
said
next morning
she just kept using the word otherworldly.
Yeah.
Because we didn't get words, we didn't get a sense of female,
What do you
male.
mean,
We didn't get. I'm like,
otherworldly?
what is it? What do you mean otherworldly? Like demon?
Like
You know, like what
something-
is this? It's I mean, the physical things I felt were they weren't very friendly, but they weren't very like. I didn't feel attacked or hurt or anything in any way. You know, it's just so weird.
But our evidence, I mean, it happened. Like
It
our
was
evidence
so
showed
weird.
that something with weight, very, very heavy, came through the door, like a locked door in our room. We had 2 doors that were locked. And we also had door alarms on the house. Like we'll do when we stay, we put our own door alarms in. So nothing was triggered, but
So it was not human to my peace of mind, because I thought somebody broke in, somebody for sure broke in, and like it was, but then no, we figured out it wasn't.
Yeah.
There was no way.
There's no way.
No, a human. Our doors were locked. Everything was locked. Yeah.
It's wild.
It's till this day, but just.
Now you both, you've got background in art, graphic arts, painting, and Kendall, you've been behind the camera for a long time and a lot of things. So I would imagine in working together, because the thing that I noticed that sets you folks apart is, and I'm not saying you've got $5 million budgets or stuff like that, but your filming is outstanding.
Oh, thank
And
you
it's
so much.
not because you're sitting in front of us right now. The cinematography, you have an eye for things right now. Can you talk a little bit before we get too far as the working relationship? Because Vera, obviously you have an eye for things, and Kendall, lighting and how to shoot these things. So that must be very, a positive collaboration on that, where you can kind of bounce things off each other.
Yeah, we do. I think we learned to dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There's an artistic dance to it that we absolutely enjoy. That's part of the.
Thank you, by the way.
Yes, thank you for noticing that, because
it's really
we
hard
were
to do.
hard. We were hard on it. And it's no an egotistical thing. We don't want to be different or anything like that. It's just our style. It's what we enjoy doing. It's just also a form of expression, like this is how we want to tell our story.
Right.
And also, for us, like we're also just enthusiasts in the paranormal, and we love everything about the paranormal. So when you put your heart into it, and I think there's something to be said, especially with your editing, like Vera's just the most amazing editor for our projects, and it just it starts to be you see it kind of come alive and be born when Vera puts these cuts together, and then it just starts to want to do its own thing, and then before you know it, it has kind of its own flair. And I think that's part of the fun, is like seeing what
I think it's just sort of
cooking stuff.
Yeah,
right? It's like
it's baking in the oven.
Yeah.
And it just kind of takes on its own form. I mean, there's no really no secret recipe.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, I mean, it's amazing. Like the thing just kind of takes a form on its own. Like painting, sometimes you have something in your hand, it just turns out kind of.
It's organic.
Yeah.
The thing about painting, now I've got a stationary object, an old hurricane lamp. Now I'm going to sit down here with my canvas and I'm going to paint that. But in this situation, you got people moving around, and probably more importantly, you have people emoting. different emotions. It could be surprise, it could be wonder, it could be sadness. And I think there's a knack for we need to go there because this is an integral part of the story. What to show, what not to show, when to go in, when to back off.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an art in itself,
It is. It's hard because so much happens, and then you have to start how much of this can I tell in an hour and a half, 90 minutes, 80 minutes. I want to just mention real quick. I'm seeing in the comments, some people did make a good point. I mentioned that what I felt, my experience was no female, no male, but they reminded us that we heard an EVP, a male EVP. That's true. And while that happened that night, Jill specified that there was the spirit of Sam, who built the house, was still there. But he was very much in the background, kind of like there, but the main activity was coming from this otherworldly beings. So that's why we decided to focus on the event, because she didn't say the spirit of Sam was the one affecting the hunters. And I didn't feel, when my experience happened, I didn't feel like it was a male presence or anything like that, or like I didn't, the feeling, the experience was so different than anything I have experienced ever. I don't even know what to call it. So that's what we call Jill. So good point. Whoever said, I don't know who said it, but good point. Yes, there was that EVP that sounded like "wake up," kind of like with a little southern, accent, like "wake up," and I don't know if that was warning us, wake up and get the hell out of there because they're coming. Like that's what I took out of it, and we didn't. So then what happened. Because it happened. That whole experience happened like about 30 minutes after that EVP.
Yeah, everything kind of happened over the course of couple hours.
Well, yeah, like in the film is like so short, but it happened. It was, we went to it at 3. We went 3 hours. Yeah, 3 hours about. So yeah, that's a good point. So she did pick up on that spirit, but we didn't even mention that either. And she picked up on that he was
she picked
there.
up on him right away. Sam.
Like he was aware of those beings as well, but he was just kind of like in the background. He just wasn't really interacting much. And but the ones really haunting, like bothering the hunters. And it was funny because when I experienced that, Dan really didn't tell us with great detail what the hunters were experiencing. He kept it really generic, like footsteps on the hallway, doors open and closed. He didn't really go into detail. But when I told him what happened to me, his eyes got really big, kind of like, oh crap. And there's a good, I'm sure he kept some details from us. So yeah, I think some hunters have talked about things being in their bedroom while they were sleeping. It's like that house is intense. It really is. But again, I'm just gonna stick to it. I mean, I do want to go with that Jill reading, that they're friendly, they're not harmful, they're just, they are trying to communicate, but they're not verbal either. She said that they were speaking with frequency. They use frequency to communicate. And it's interesting because that's the only VP we got in the house was that one, wake up, and like everything else was sounds and beeps and
footsteps.
The footsteps.
Yeah, that was awesome.
The footsteps, which we don't know. She couldn't really tell.
So would you say this is one of those places? Because we love to label things, right? Residual, demonic. Would you say this is one of those places that has a combination of both things? The residual is found as sounds and intelligent as far as interacting. That there's a little bit of both there.
She said it wasn't residual at all.
Yeah.
And she said that the steps were intelligent. She says they were done on purpose. So it's something that was just there.
But repetitive
with intention.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's
At
what she
first we
said.
thought maybe, yeah.
We
'cause
completely
of the
thought it
same,
was.
You know, it's like, oh, footsteps. You know, usually that's kind of residual. But and like the first experience with the footsteps, I would have thought maybe, okay, we experienced the residual footsteps, but then we experienced them again, and then we realized that those footsteps had weight to them, which was a whole nother level for me. I've never seen anything like that in my life where
It caught us off guard.
you know, usually you hear a footstep and it's like almost ethereal. It's like this, like, you know, it's like this playback in time or something. You know what I mean? But this had physical weight to it because we know it moved as it walked on the floorboards. It moved things around the room that when a physical person walked in the room. So we knew that it had weight to it, which is new for us. That was very, very interesting and threw us down a full loop of.
The three of us heard it too at the same time. Usually, you know, when you have a group of people, usually one or two hear it, others don't, you know, because, you know, you hear different frequencies, but the three of us it was so loud and distinct that we were just like, we thought somebody was coming in.
I would thought someone's come up on the deck. Yeah.
And part of the fear wasn't not so much the paranormal aspect, but the part that we were in the middle of nowhere with no cell phone reception, and we were pretty helpless out there. That was part of the fear. I had to add that, you know, like it wasn't just terrified of the unknown.
We don't know you. Can we come stay at your house?
We didn't know, you know, like I was a little irresponsible. You know, it's crazy. It was fear, love for the art.
Yeah.
Ken, why don't we get to the final questions here from our viewing audience, and we'll take it from there. Go ahead.
Okay, just going to jump to a couple here. Go back to Jeff. Have you seen or do you believe that the more a place is investigated, the more activity is produced? You see an increase in activity.
I think people, I mean, you can look at it two ways. You can say, okay, we're getting more activity because we're documenting more activity, but also I think more investigators, you know, more people through traffic through the place, you're gonna experience more. So that's kind of tough because.
But you sometimes compare it to fishing.
You spend extended periods of time in a place, right?
Yeah.
Where it's not necessarily a turnstile of people coming and going, but just a few people with a continued presence, so that there's like a familiarity.
Yeah. You know what? We Vera and I feel pretty comfortable about saying it. We've noticed that like 2 to 3 days into our stay is when things start to ramp up a little bit, which is quite
to relax, kind of like, okay,
yeah,
like you kind of become part of the environment, or maybe I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is, but we've seen a pattern with, you know, day 2.5, 3 is when like we'll see a few things here and there that are like, okay, you know, but day 3 is usually kind of like, you know, when we start to experience stuff, which is interesting. And it happened at all the places because, and we didn't stay at the house in between, but we were basically there for hours and hours and hours and hours, you know, filming. So I think we would go and get like 3 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep, and go back.
Which it was kind of psychologically weird because at the end we were exhausted and then we started having more activity, but we were already exhausted and we were thinking, well, is this done on purpose because we know we're weak?
We talked before earlier about how we tell people to keep journals, to write things down so you can get like a common denominator. But it sounds like as filmmakers that you're establishing a common denominator with this 72-hour thing.
Yeah, I think there's something to it. I really do. I think that that there's something to it, and it's also, I think, we've had a pretty good experience with kind of going in with no expectations, no, you know, for the Conjuring House, we purposely didn't want to play off of anything that had been there previously. We want to just form our own opinion and have our own experience. And I think there's just kind of, you know, so going in and doing the research on what other investigators had happened there, we didn't do. And then obviously with the haunting labs, there was nobody that had done it. So I think there's something to that as well, just kind of forming your own opinion.
All right, final questions, Ken. We got 3 minutes.
Yeah. Jeff also wants to know, Vera, have you ever drawn or painted what you felt from the
I saw that question just now. That's a really good idea. I have not, and that will probably help me.
Yeah.
It took me a while to process the entire event, and I am much better now, and I've healed. I've healed from it. And I forgave myself because I also encountered a lot of guilt. I felt like I failed as a paranormal investigator because I didn't get up and face it, or like encounter. I just kind of let it play. But in the back of my head, I was like, well, we have that camera filming it. I don't want to disturb it. I'm just going to let it play. And then my recorder. So I dealt with that emotion as well. Like, did I fail as a paranormal investigator, or did I do okay by not moving? Because I was awake for 3 hours, not moving, just being tortured. Or should I have faced it? So that's a good idea. Maybe I should paint and write down in detail what happened. No. Can you hear us, guys?
You did what was necessary, which was you documented it, as
Thank you.
an
Thank you.
experience story. So,
Yeah.
now anything after that is just icing on the cake. For some reason, your video completely froze up. We can hear you absolutely well.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're good.
The energy, the emotion.
Yeah.
We're okay. Very, very quickly, what are you guys looking to work on here pretty soon? And my main question, are you looking to go overseas at all?
Yeah, we're always open for cases for any kind of locations.
We have
we are
2 projects we're working on right now.
Yeah.
And we have been invited overseas, but I don't know. We're gonna anytime
Good.
soon.
I have a list. I'll submit to you.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're open.
Yeah.
Please send us locations if you know of anybody who
Absolutely.
needs help, anybody who has evidence, especially evidence that we can talk about and put in our
That's been
documentaries. So
documented,
people who are interested in having us come over to document their location. We're open. We're always open for suggestions. Send us claims and photos if you can of the location and a little bit of the background history. We're super interested in new cases as well.
We'll don't hang up. We'll talk off air.
Okay.
But, that'll conclude our show. Next week, guys, we got a great surprise coming your way also. So stay tuned. Those of you who are Patreon members, we'll see you tomorrow night in Town Hall. For the rest of you, thank you for watching and or listening tonight to our show. We'll see you next week, same time. Until then, on behalf of Ken DaCosta, my name's George Lopez. Thank you so much. Have a great night. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.